I'm a big fan of Batman. And today, we're going to be reviewing one of the very roots of my love for The Dark Knight. Batman Beyond is kind of like white chocolate. No, I'm serious. It's a different version of a classic character, Batman, while white chocolate is a modified version of classic chocolate, which everyone is familiar with. Now, there are people who may criticize or even completely ignore this new version of a classic because in their eyes, it isn't actually what it claims to be. Some people claim that white chocolate isn't real chocolate, and some people claim that Terry McGinnis isn't actually Batman. Both real people and fictional characters in the Batman Beyond universe. This is the main topic that the feature-length film Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker explores, convincing we the audience, the characters in the film, and mainly Terry himself, that he is actually Batman, and not, as the Joker puts it, an errand boy taking orders from a senile old man. And the main premise of the film is really the best way to convince people of this, by pitting Terry up against Batman's greatest adversary, the Joker. Now, I'm not going to make my absolute love of this film a mystery by saying that personally, it's my favorite of all of Bruce Timm's animated movies. And this is mainly due to this movie being the true epitome of everything that's great about the Batman character. Now, in order to do this, Return of the Joker can't just be about Terry as Batman. We also need some classic Batman scenes, and Bruce Wayne can't just be the voice of experience barking in Terry's ear. The Joker's reappearance needs to carry some emotional weight for him and the entire Bat family, which it does. Now, let me just stop for 1 second and say that I'm not going to go into a plot synopsis in this review, since this is both a widely available film, and I want to cover a lot in this review, so if you haven't seen it and don't want anything spoiled, go buy it. You will not regret it. Let's get into why. Return of the Joker opens the best way it possibly could, a dynamic fight scene that plants the early seeds of the plot and immediately tells us why we should like Terry as our protagonist. First, he's a very effective superhero, easily able to deal with the Joker's gang members without tiring and having time to make wisecracks. One line that stuck with me ever since I was a kid is right when Terry arrives and says, "It's a school night, boys and girls. I'm going to have to call your folks." The school-hating child in me laughs every time I hear that line. What really makes this movie so great is how many layers are put into every scene, and this opening is a great example. Already getting into the main topic I mentioned earlier about Terry truly being Batman. Sure, we've got fun action, cinematic animation, and great voice acting, but we've also got time in this opening scene to give our protagonist a characterization. When Terry is fighting the Jokers in the skies of Gotham as they attempt to escape with the communications equipment, one of the Dee twins falls off a hovercraft to his certain death. But even in the danger of combat, Terry takes the time and energy to throw a bat cable to stop her fall. Now, this is something that Bruce would have done as Batman himself, risk his life to save someone else's, even that of someone he's fighting. Later on, after Terry has encountered the Joker for the first time at a Wayne Court party, he criticizes himself for saving a couple of bystanders that fell off the exploding balcony instead of going after the Joker. Bruce simply responds, "You did the right thing." Bruce thinks of Terry as a good soldier, someone who can follow orders and procedures well, which in his eyes, at this point in the film, makes him a good person to be Batman, so they'll practically be identical to Bruce in the costume. But this doesn't really make Terry Batman. It makes him just another of Bruce's sidekicks following orders. Bruce goes through his own character arc in the film, realizing that Terry isn't just a robot to be commanded to mimic Bruce's Batman. And I love the way he realizes this. Bruce knows the Joker inside and out. He knows how he thinks and how he fights. And the Joker feels the same way about Bruce. He says to Terry during the final fight scene, "I know every trick the original Batman and Robin knew at their peak." I think both Joker and Bruce underestimate Terry to certain degrees. Joker not really thinking of him as the true Batman, and just as a punk wearing a costume, and Bruce thinking that Terry needs to beat the Joker his way in order to win. After getting his butt whooped for a few minutes by the Joker, Terry asks Bruce, "Any suggestions, boss?" Bruce tells him that the only way to beat the Joker is to ignore what he says and just keep fighting. This is what gives Terry the idea to instead treat the Joker like a pathetic excuse for a criminal, by making fun of his origin and how obsessed he was with Bruce. This is my favorite scene in the movie, since it's where Terry and the audience realize why Terry is apt to be called Batman. He uses one of his most prominent qualities, making wisecracks about the crooks he's fighting, and it turns out to be the only way to beat the Joker. I really like that as a fan of both Batman and Batman Beyond, since it validates both men as being fit to wear the cape and cowl, or in Terry's case, just the cowl. And I love the way Bruce sums it up at the end. It's not Batman that makes you worthwhile, it's the other way around. Concluding his arc with the realization that what makes a good Batman isn't the training and costume, it's the character and specific qualities of the man behind the mask. The final aspect of the film that makes Terry and Bruce's arcs complete is the fantastic music score. And what really makes it brilliant is the mix between classic orchestral cinematic soundtrack and a rocking futuristic soundtrack. It comes to be a symbol all of its own, that while Terry has all of the same qualities of Bruce that makes him fit to be Batman, which is symbolized by the classic orchestra, he also has his own way of doing things which allowed him to beat the true test of a Batman, the Joker. And this is of course represented by the rock score. My favorite use of symbolic music is the ending scene where Terry looks over Gotham as Batman and then descends down in an epic, heroic manner. It's a very similar shot to the one at the end of Mask of the Phantasm, but instead, Terry gets a rock version of the iconic Batman theme to fit him being the Dark Knight. The film is brilliant in how it explores this idea of what it takes to be Batman, with subtlety and finesse. But what really makes the whole movie work as a whole is the incredible mystery of how the hell is the Joker back after decades of supposedly being dead. What I found really cool about it was the big red herring that's thrown out right at the film's start, with a disgruntled employee of Wayne Enterprises, Jordan Price, who's bitter about Bruce Wayne resuming active leadership of the company when he would have been next in line. Immediately he's got the motive to want Bruce Wayne dead. But what's really clever is that Mark Hamill also voices Jordan Price. It's something I didn't catch until this last viewing, and it shows how masterful Paul Dini is at crafting a mystery story. But what really makes it awesome is the true method of the Joker's return, former Robin Tim Drake. We learn through a fantastic flashback narrated by Barbara Gordon that in their last days as Batman and Robin, Tim was kidnapped by the Joker and driven to insanity so that the Joker could hurt his worst enemy where it really hurts. However, what really makes it tragic is that the Joker has been haunting Tim ever since then due to the Joker implanting his DNA into a microchip and implanting that into Tim Drake's mind to use him as a way to live past his time. It's a really cool symbol actually of the Joker haunting the Bat family all these years and a lasting reminder of what he did to Tim for Bruce. Adding something like this to the animated Batman continuity shows that this team has guts and isn't afraid to throw curveballs like this at the fans. Granted, the explanation for how the Joker is able to return is certainly bizarre and unrealistic, but everything else in the film works so well and is so engrossing that it's kind of a necessary evil for the whole thing to work. My only critique of Return of the Joker is the Joker's actual plan, to take control of a laser shooting satellite and blowing up portions of the city. As Captain Logan points out in his review of the film, it's unclear what he actually wants to accomplish by this, and if it's just to have some way to stay top dog in Gotham, it's really out of character for the animated continuity Joker. But it's so far in the background due to everything else that's going on in this movie that I'm going to give it a pass. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is a fantastic movie with cinematic animation, gripping voice acting, and a tight story with lots of importance for the animated Batman universe. If you've ever had doubts about Batman Beyond, this movie will put all your negative feelings to rest and is a great place to start for those trying to get into the series. I'm giving Batman Beyond Return of the Joker a 5 out of 5, which, by the way, is more than I would have given White Chocolate. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you all later.